Good afternoon, everyone. I'm Vincent
Hello.
Rosieux, Executive Director of the Business Incubator located in Poitiers. Thank you very much for joining today's webinar. I took my duties last month, so this is my first participation in an action of the Sirena program. It is a strong pleasure to launch this Portugal webinar. Even if we will be an opponent today on the football field, and the France will win at the end, I'm sorry about that, but Portugal and France has always built strong connections. So we will try to provide you with an overview of Portugal, its innovation ecosystem, and business opportunities for French startups. Let's review the program for this afternoon before we start. Marc Augustin is International Project Manager at Bordeaux Techno West. He will introduce the Sirena program, startup program. Then Ms. Regina Freitas Cruz, International Relations Officer of the University of Coimbra, will present Portugal and customs in business. Mr. Kevin Concalves, who is an international trade advisor for Business France based in Lisbon, will introduce the economy of Portugal. After this presentation of Portugal, we will have a focus on the innovation ecosystem with the presentation of the municipality of Coimbra by Ms. Magda Lucas and Mrs. Brigida Mateus, Investor Assistant Office, and the presentation of the Instituto Pedro Nunes Business Incubator, IPN, by its Executive Director, Mr. Paulo Santos. You will discover the key mission and key programs of the IPN, the main innovations encouraged and developed by the business incubator, and a presentation of a success story. Then we will conclude this webinar with a testimony of Mrs. Maureen Ojeroyo, co-founder and Chief Sustainability Officer at Teselo, a company based in Portugal and founded in 2017 in Lisbon. The Teselo mission is to tackle environmental challenges using the power of satellite imagery and artificial intelligence. Do not hesitate to ask questions directly in the chat or at the end of the webinar. Sandrine Doyen and Salome Dan, our international project managers, also working for the business incubator of Poitiers, will animate the webinar. Okay, so the floor is you, Marc.
Okay, thank you, Vincent. Hello, everybody. Thanks for being here today for this new webinar. It's our sixth webinar this year. We will finish with a nice country for the first year, Portugal. As Vincent mentioned, I am a project manager for Sirena program at the regional level. So we have 9 techno parks and business incubation centers who have created a consortium for developing our international business for our startups, especially. And this program is based on 4 objectives. First is to create to develop our innovation hubs being international compatible. Second objective for us is to help our startups to develop their business.
Comment vous voulez que la réunion se déroule et quel temps on se donne? Combien de temps on se donne?
Sorry.
I'm sorry, but someone forgot to cut his mic.
Yes. Did you hear me? Yeah. Sorry, I was explaining that we have four pillars. First is to be developing our hubs, innovation hubs being international. Second pillar is to help our startups to develop their exportation to other countries. Third pillar is to develop at an horizontal way our connection with the international ecosystem in France. And fourth, final pillar and objective is to develop a landing scape for our partners, international partners, for their startups to do some soft landings activities in our region with our 9 location around in the picture. You can see this is our region from the north to the south, from Poitiers to Bidart, Biarritz, and in between Bordeaux are the main places where our partners can expect developing their connection with our innovative ecosystem. Sorry, my English is bad. My Portuguese is. I just can say bon dia and have a good meeting with us, and thanks for being here.
Thank you, Mark. Thank you, Mark. So we will start the webinar with an overview of Portugal. So I'm going to share the slides of Regina. So Regina, you work in the International Relations Office of the city of Coimbra, which is the oldest university in Portugal. And it is the home of the largest faculty science campus in the country. So maybe you can tell us more about the university and Portugal in general.
Okay, so as our first slide shows, we are the oldest university in Portugal and one of the oldest in Europe. We were founded right after the founding of the country. We were founded on the 12th century, so on 1143, and on 1290 we were founded. My job today will be presenting you a little bit of Portugal. Not really on the business side, even though knowing a bit of Portugal and is also has to do with business. So could we go to page 2, please?
Yes, so, I'm trying, but actually it's a bit hard on my computer. Can you maybe share your slides, please? It's not working well on mine.
Okay.
Sorry for that.
Let me just do it. So Portugal, we are one of the southern countries of Europe. We are bordered by Spain. We are located in the Iberian Peninsula, bordered by Spain and the Atlantic Ocean. That has influenced a lot of our aspects of life and culture. So from our national dishes that have to do with fish, cod fish and grilled sardines, our beaches, which are major destinations. And also it has to do also with our nation's architecture, since our main architecture dates from the 1500s and 1800s, and it has to do a lot with our time as a powerful maritime empire. We have a mild climate, around 3,000 hours of sunshine. We have loads of beaches. We're not only in the mainland, we also have 2 archipelagos, to Azores and Madeira. And we have the oldest borders in Europe at this moment. As for demographics, we are 10 million, around 10 million something inhabitants. We are fairly linguistically and religiously homogeneous. We have 90% of our people are Portuguese. The other 5% are immigrants, and the main communities of immigrants are from Ukraine, Moldova, Romania, Russia, and of course, Brazilians, and members of our Portuguese-speaking African countries. As for religion, we are mainly Catholics, but of course, our Portuguese constitution guarantees religious freedom, and we have loads of others, different religions in Portugal, and we are very tolerant with that kind of things in Portugal. Of course, we speak Portuguese, but we also have another language that is recognized, which is Mirandese language from the area of Miranda do Douro, which borders with Spain, and it has a lot to do with the times of our dictatorship. We had a mixed language to escape the authorities there, so that people could go over the border and come back. Portuguese is a Latin root language, such as French as well. And it is spoken around 250 million around the world. So in every continent, we have people speaking Portuguese. It is the 5th most spoken language around the world, and it is the 3rd in Europe. So you can find people speaking Portuguese in Africa, and like Angola, Mozambique, and others that you see there, and in South Africa, South America, sorry, with Brazil. In Asia, East Timor, which is their official language is Portuguese, one of them. And also in China, Macau Special Administrative Region speaks also Portuguese, and it has as official language Portuguese. So we're also fairly good in speaking several languages. So it is if you come to Portugal, if you speak French or English, you probably will have people talking back to you in the same language. That's I think one of the good qualities in Portugal. As for climate, as I said before, we have around 3,000 hours of sun per year, but of course, we're not all the same. So inland and the northern of Portugal, we usually have colder temperatures. We usually have snow as well. Summers are hot and dry, mainly in Trás-os-Montes, which is the northest inland part of Portugal, and also in Alentejo. Temperatures around the coastal areas really are not. Sometimes people feel, they're too hot, but they're not because of the sea. And we have warm and sunny days in autumn. And we have one particular funny thing, which is around the beginning of November, we have a few days of hot weather usually, and we call it the St. Martin's summer because it's around St. Martin's Day this happens. And it is also a special thing here in Portugal. As for culture and customs, so we are foodies and we like our drinks as well. Around our customary specialities that everyone loves, for example, are our sweets like pastéis de nata. So they're custard tarts, but they're very special for us. We have our cheeses, we have our bacalhau, which is a salted cod, and we have a lot of variety of meat and seafood dishes that are very, well, people like it a lot. And we have good wines as well, being the ones in the Douro area, north, and Alentejo, south, the most recognized. As for arts, we have Fado, which is our traditional and UNESCO protected songs. We have two main varieties of Fado. One is from Lisbon, which is a little bit happier. And then there is the one of Coimbra, usually mainly sung by men, and sadder, because usually it comes from the tradition of the students leaving the university, or doing serenades to the ladies that were behind the windows. As for festivals, we have the Romarias, which are pilgrimages, religious festivals that honor the patron saints of the areas around Portugal, which they are they're very solemn. There are processions, there's always the religious part, and there's always the non-religious with the parties and around. Regional customs, well, you will see people around those times using our regional customs. So There's a big one now in August, a pilgrimage. It's called Senhora da Agonia in the north, where you can see people in the procession using the traditional garments. Women use a lot of gold necklaces and scarves and all that. So this is a part I think it's more connected to business. So how to get to Portugal? Why is Coimbra a good place to do business? So first of all, we have several ways of getting to Portugal, as in all the places. Coimbra, as you can see, is in the middle of Portugal. So it is around 1 hour train from Porto and 2 from Lisbon. I think I jumped something here. Yeah, I think I jumped something here. So you have good train connections. You have several airports. So you have several national companies, air companies in Portugal, TAP, SATA, and Eurovip. By train, you can get to Coimbra fairly fast, and there are connections to outside of Portugal. I'll give you, for example, the train that takes you to Paris. We have several connections around the countries, all connected via train. So, as for Coimbra, it is the former capital of the country. So it has a medieval old town, a very preserved one, an historic university, which is UNESCO protected, where we have the former royal palace and of course the Baroque library, which is one of our ex-libris. And our bell tower, that students don't like it very much because it used to be when it rang, it used to be the time to go to classes. And we also have in the city old town, we have the 12th century Romanesque Cathedral Cervelha, and also we have a Roman Roman ruins also behind our university. So this is how old we are. So instead of speaking about the university, I'm going to leave you with our video that explains you what we are and where we come from.
A Universidade de Coimbra foi criada em 1290 e é uma das mais antigas da Europa. A universidade está no mesmo local desde 1537, ocupando o palácio que foi residência real durante toda a primeira dinastia de reis portugueses. É um património histórico e cultural de exceção, reconhecido pela Unesco como Património da Humanidade em 2013. Só 5 universidades no mundo inteiro têm esse estatuto. O núcleo inicial expandiu-se em modernos edifícios, alguns dos quais referências da arquitetura internacional. Atualmente, a universidade tem 25 mil estudantes, 20% dos quais são estrangeiros e 12% provenientes dos países de língua portuguesa que partilham tradições académicas seculares. Em Coimbra encontram-se estudantes de mais de 100 países que dão à cidade uma atmosfera cosmopolita e uma diversidade única. 1/3 dos habitantes da cidade são universitários. As atividades tradicionais académicas mobilizam toda a cidade e muitos visitantes em eventos únicos no mundo. A Universidade de Coimbra é uma instituição de referência mundial que oferece ensino e investigação em quase todas as áreas de estudo e em todos os níveis de ensino. Participa em programas conjuntos com as melhores universidades do mundo. A UC que faz parte do Center for World University Rankings das 500 melhores universidades do mundo e é considerada pelo QS Stars University Ratings como uma instituição de topo, com 5 estrelas nas áreas de ensino, inovação, pesquisa, instalações, empregabilidade, internacionalização e inclusão. Nas áreas de engenharia civil, direito e ambiente, a UC encontra-se entre as 200 melhores do mundo. Em 2010, o Instituto Pedro Nunes foi considerado a melhor incubadora de base tecnológica do mundo e em 2018 posicionou-se no top 5 das melhores incubadoras do mundo afiliadas a uma universidade. Aqui encontram-se pessoas de todo o mundo lusófono e muitos antigos estudantes de Coimbra ocupam posições de destaque na comunidade de países de língua portuguesa. Coimbra é a universidade com mais estudantes brasileiros fora do Brasil. Em Coimbra encontra uma universidade secular, uma cidade de estudantes e uma experiência académica única. O melhor lugar do mundo para aprender português e conhecer a lusofonia.
So that was Coimbra. Many of my children, as I say, were there. I work with incoming students and researchers, so you saw a lot of them around on the welcome sessions. We are a big university with many international students. They all go through us. We work also with researchers. That is a new job I took over around 3 years. We are very looked for, not only by postdoc professors, but also by researchers moving to the University of Coimbra to work in our research institutes. Some of them, of course, work with EPN as well, but EPN I will leave to our colleague to explain. And we have an area that works only with business that is called UC Business. Unfortunately, they're not here, they're not present, but in any case, if you want to speak with any of them and have their input in business, I'm available to put you in connection with them. And of course, I'm available to answer any of your questions. And you have my contacts there. Unfortunately, I will not be able to continue in the session because I have to go to another meeting, which is outside the university, and I have like half an hour to get there. I wish you a good session, and please do email me if you need my help, if you need connection with UC Business, okay? So I will start now.
Okay, thank you, Regina. We have just one question of Mark. He wants to know if you have a connection with other European universities and in France, for instance.
Yes, we do, with a lot.
Okay.
We have with Poitiers, we have with, I don't know, in Paris we have with several, but we have around all of France. We have Marseille, we have Compiègne. I don't know if I'm saying right, so I'm sorry if I'm not. But we have a lot of connection with French universities, and we receive a lot of students. Mainly these days, we receive them for Erasmus traineeships, and they go to science areas like civil engineering. We had been receiving in electrical engineering, informatics, also in architectures. So
quite a lot.
Okay.
Okay, thank you. So if you have any other question, maybe we can email you later, so you can go to your meeting.
Okay, and if you want to get in connection with the colleagues of UC Business, let me know, okay?
Okay, thank you very much. Thank you, Regina.
Bye.
Goodbye. So now, Kevin, maybe you can share your slides for the next part of the webinar.
Yes, let me just, I've never shared it through this application. I thought you would share it. Let me just, I think, I may have it here.
So in the meantime, I can introduce Kevin. So good afternoon, everybody. Sandrine Doyen, International Project Manager from Technopole Grand Poitiers Business Incubator. So let me welcome Kevin, International Trade Advisor working for Business France in Lisbon. So Kevin will talk to us about opportunities for French startups wishing to export their products to Portugal, key business areas in Portugal, and also key events in Portugal for startups. So welcome, Kevin. Is it fine for you?
Thank you. Yeah, just have it in a second.
We can do it for you if you want.
If you have it, maybe it would be more simple because I can see it, but I think I've sent it. I'm not sharing it. If you have it on your side, that would be better.
Okay, so we will do it. Just tell us next when we want.
Okay, thank you.
It should work now. Can you see my screen?
Yes, I can see it.
Okay, great.
So nice, Kevin. Go ahead.
Thank you. So thank you for the introduction. We can go on the other slide. So as you know, yes, I'm working at Business France Portugal, the sales department of the French embassy here in Lisbon, and I'm going to talk to you about macroeconomy, and I will introduce the tech ecosystem as well. So you know that Portugal is a smaller country than France. We have more than 10 million inhabitants. We are the 10th economy of the Eurozone, and we are also the 17th client of France. You know already that the tourism industry is one of the most profitable for the country. We are the 30th touristic destination worldwide. The GDP linked to the tourism is about 20%. So we are speaking here about 30 million potential consumers, including the local population and the 24.6 million tourists who came in Portugal in 2019. Regarding the activity, it is mostly concentrated in the capital in Lisbon, with 36% of the national GDP. And regarding the northern region in the city of Porto, with 16% of the GDP as well. So on the next slide, I'm going to introduce the tech ecosystem on the Portuguese market. If you can go on the other slide, please.
Yeah, I'm sorry. It's my screen is froze. I don't know why. I'm trying to share the screen, but it's a bit hard.
Okay, let me know when I'm still on the same slide at the moment.
Okay, I'm sorry, we have a technical problem with our screen.
Happens.
We cannot go to the next slide. So if you don't mind, we will stop sharing our screen. And if you go down, you see a small.
Yes. Okay.
It's okay. It's okay.
Maybe it's better this way then. Okay.
Yeah. Thank you.
So regarding the tech ecosystem, in a few words, I would define it saying that it is a still young but rich ecosystem with the main innovation clusters located in Lisbon and Porto, respectively, with 1,000 startups and 450 startups. And the ecosystem is evolving as well in the rest of the country, such as in Braga, Aveiro, and Coimbra as well. To give you a concrete example, in 2018, there was an increase of 20% of startups in 1 year. So we went from 584 startups to 700. and we now have at the end of 2020 3,214 startups. So it counts the physical and the virtual startups, but in Portugal there's at the moment 2,200 physical startups. Regarding the incubators and the accelerators in Portugal, you can see that they are all dispatched through the country, especially on the northern region, the center, and around the metropolitan area of Lisbon. And regarding the ICT scales up, we have 45 of them in Portugal at the moment. So 75% of them have been created in 2010, including 17 in Lisbon and 11 in Porto. So when we have a look at the economic health of these startups, during the first year of incubation, we noticed that the survival rate of startups was about 80% in 2017, and it went to 86.6% in 2018. So this is explained by the investment of several investors in the public sector and in the private sector as well. The Portuguese state has invested 340 million euros in the technology sector in 2019. And regarding the private sector, 80% of the investments are coming from abroad, mainly from the US. The other point which is interesting in Portugal is the central location, especially for startups who want to do business with Brazil. It's not the same culture, of course, but since we have the same language, it's always more interesting to do business, and also with Portuguese-speaking Africa. So we can go on the next slide. You know that there are a lot of French people in Portugal, and with all these French people come a lot of French companies. We have, of course, BlaBlaCar, Quanco, Alcatel, Too Good To Go here in France, in Portugal. And so some of these companies has been held by some institution or accelerators. And if we go on the other slide, you can see that we do have different partners here in Portugal to help a startup to build the business here. Some accelerators with Fabricat Startups, Startup Portugal, the ECN from Coimbra as well. Regarding the corporate incubators, we also have Startup Lisboa, EDP Starter, and BetaI would be the incubator to be in contact with as well, to enter in connection with key accounts here in Portugal. Of course, in terms of local institutions, you can count on Business France to look for business opportunities for French companies. There's also the International Chamber of Commerce from France in Lisbon if you need to set up a subsidiary or a business. If you come from the tech industry, you would have to be in contact with the French Tech Lisbon as well. And ICEP Portugal Global, which is a Portuguese institution and which has more or less the same role than Business France as well. So you have understood that Portugal is doing its best to attract investors and entrepreneurs. The government has a support policy for startups, such as the program Empresa na Hora, which is basically the process of creating a company in an hour. If you need to hire talents from overseas, for example, sometimes it can get complicated to get a visa for them. So you would have to ask for the tech visa, which aims to accelerate the recruitment of highly qualified profiles. And there's also other measures such as the Semence program with tax benefits for invest in startups. There's also the creation of vouchers to support the incubation and the accelerations of startups as well. And what is interesting as well is the Simplex program, because sometimes it can be quite complicated to set up a business in the administrative way, I mean. So this program tends to reduce the bureaucracy between the startup and the state. So Portugal is definitely an attractive country for startups. It has been the 25th best country in the world to do business according to Forbes best countries to business. Portugal has also this quality of life, which is important when you are an entrepreneur, because sometimes it can be complicated to have a balance between your personal life and your private life. So this is what Portugal has to bring. Not only that, but that is an important point. The fact of setting up a business in Lisbon as well is that you can enjoy the city as a cosmopolitan city, especially for the labor market. You have people from everywhere in Lisbon, but also Portuguese people who most of the time are very qualified speaking English and sometimes even in Spanish and French. And an example of startups which had succeeded in Portugal are OutSystems, Farfetch, and Talkdesk, which were startups and then scale-ups. And they are now unicorns valued at more than $1 billion USD. And we recently had Fidzai as well, who turned a unicorn in early 2021. So in terms of opportunities for French startups, there are opportunities in the clean tech industry, since the country is an example in photovoltaics and has massive ENR parks in Europe. There are also opportunities for smart cities, because the e-mobility and wellness are public concerns. So startups can develop digital solutions in this subsector. Then comes the telecommunications, which is one of the most profitable sector in the IT industry. There's still some investments which are needed within the 5G market. This investment is needed by the main market players. And there are also opportunities for cyber security and cryptocurrency. You have to know that Portugal is the third country in Europe with the most victims of cybercrime. And then in tourism and retail. So we have been in contact with some actors of the tourism sector in Portugal. Of course, they are trying to do some savings in specific sectors. And we know that they are now more interested in digital solutions, especially for communication. The retail industry as well is interesting, considering that there has been a strong consumption in supermarkets, especially with home delivery practices since COVID occurred. And especially the prop tech as well. The real estate activity has always been really important for Portugal, especially the recent years. And there are also opportunities in the health industry. The digital solutions in the health industry are required for by the public government since 2016. And there are a lot of digital solutions which are now being on the table. We know that in 2021, the budget is specifically dedicated to rebuild new infrastructures in Portugal. There is not a specific part of the budget dedicated to digital solutions, so it might come from private investments in terms of digital solutions in the health industry. And on the next slide, we are going to do a focus on the rising segments of the IT sector. As I mentioned, there are opportunities, especially in software development, telecoms, and services, consulting and training as well. So the software development subsector is especially developed by small and medium companies. So they bring innovative export solutions. We had actually 26% of IT companies exporting in 2018, and they had a turnover of 1.8 billion. So it was an increase of 15% compared to the previous year. The telecom industry as well has a lot of offers considering that there is solutions for mobile application, 4G, disinvestment, which is still needed for the 5G as well, and networks and communication management platforms for the IoT. And last but not least, the services, consulting and training, which is the subsector which is representing 70% of the companies of the IT industry. It is also the top recruiting sector with 50% of the IT market. And still there's a diversified offer with the management training and the internal application development and also outsourcing services. So I will conclude introducing the Web Summit, which is taking place in Lisbon since 2016. So that's the Europe's leading tech fair. It is going to take place in Portugal until 2026 for now. It managed to bring 75,000 attendees, 1,500 investors, and 2,250 startups. Last year, the version of the Web Summit was online because of the pandemic. They gathered 100,000 attendees, and so it was participants from 168 countries, basically. And in 2021, it is planned from the 2nd to the 4th of November. The target initially was about 70,000 people in person and 70,000 people online. So we are already in discussion with the Web Summit. It seems that we would probably have 50,000 people in person. So we are really excited to organize again this trade fair with people in person. And that's all for the Web Summit this year. Thank you, Salome. That's all for me.
Thank you very much, Kevin. Very interesting. So apart from tourism that we all know, of course, we are very happy to discover your tech strength with Web Summit, but also with sciences in Coimbra. So what would you give us as advice for business in Portugal?
For business in Portugal, in terms of advice, I would suggest that depending on the sector where you are developing a business, you should make sure that you are in contact with the different associations. As I mentioned, if you want to set up a company in the tech industry, you have to be in contact with the French Tech Lisbon, for example. You have to be in contact with the local institutions such as Business France, ICEP, which help the companies to develop their business steadily and which are here also to give their advice and their point of view in terms of cultural approach or to even give some advices. So I would suggest to be in contact with a specialist on the market when you arrive.
Okay, thank you very much. Any other major B2B fairs apart from Web Summit?
So there are also other trade fairs. It depends of the sector, but we have in Portugal, I would recommend the eHealth Summit. For the retail industry, there's also the Iberian Retail Show, which took place in Porto last year. But I would say the best alternative is also to be in contact with the International Trade Fair of Lisbon, and they have all the schedule of all the shows. But I would probably recommend these 3 trade fairs.
Okay, thank you, Kevin. Maybe can you write in the chat the names of the 2 business fairs you just mentioned?
Yes, okay.
Also, Eric asked if we can have your phone number. So if
yes,
it's
okay.
possible for you to write it in the chat.
I can share it as well. No
Okay,
problem.
thank you. Maybe.
Thank you.
Okay, so thank you very much, Kevin. That was very interesting. So now the floor is yours, Salome, for Coimbra.
Yes, thank you, Sandrine. So now let's move on to the innovation ecosystem in Portugal with the presentation of the municipality of Coimbra. So Magda, as I have some issues with my computer, maybe you can share your slides directly, please.
Let me just try to show you the presentation.
Okay, and in the meantime, you may know that Poitiers is a twin city with Coimbra, and they are both part of the EC2U program, which is a European alliance for 7 universities in Europe. And Magda Lucas was for the Investor Assistant Office, and she will introduce the welcome programs for startups.
Okay. Let me just see if we can. Is that okay?
Yeah, yes, it's working.
Thank you.
Okay, so let's start. Let me just thank you in the name of the municipality and of course the Office for the Investor Support for our presence here and for the chance to talk just a little bit of our ecosystem concerning the entrepreneurial system and the innovation system as well. And then after me, the perfect person to talk about the innovation system, who is Paulo Santos from the IPN, but I will just give you a quick overlook about all our atmosphere we're living in the city, okay? So I think Regina has already showed you the advantages of our location and describes you the city in this area of tourism, all the cultural part. And maybe I will show you the following slides just to fill my 10 minutes intervention, okay? So, you know, we are one of the oldest and more important Portuguese cities in the very center of Portugal. That's why we're so important in terms of location. We're right in the middle of the country. You can see here in the map. Regina has already showed you, but it's important to tell you that we are in the middle of 2 main airports, just 1 hour more or less to Porto, and then 2 hours to Lisbon by car. So it's very, very near the 2 main airports. In terms of competitive advantages, this is a photo of one of our most recent refurbished squares there in the very downtown of the city. Our historic core is facing new recoverings. We have a modern urban center, a lot of infrastructures, equipment and facilities, and an innovative and entrepreneurial ecosystem. So we consider Coimbra presents all the conditions for the investors and their projects. We have higher education institutions as the university, as well the Polytechnic Institute. We have a strong business structure and a culture of innovation and quality work and a strong investors atmosphere. Concerning our business environment, we have success enterprises in areas of strong technological and innovation companies. I will show you next, but we can talk, for example, about critical software that is a startup from the IPN. I don't know if that's the case study Paulo is going to present, but it's one of the most famous and important ones. We have an excellent level of higher education institutions. We have the development of research, a strong point, and training of highly qualified assets. Concerning the main enterprises here, I don't know if you can see those slides, but can you see the whole slide?
Yeah, we can.
The main enterprises, we have critical software, we have Talkbest. Are you listening to me?
Yeah.
Are you listening?
Yes, Magda, we are listening to you.
Oh,
Yes, everything
We're
is
hearing
fine.
you.
okay. We have Tollplus, which is a unicorn enterprise. We have WIT software, and we have Fidzai, for example, and Olympus, also installed in Coimbra. So, due to our process led by the municipality of recovery of the historic center of the city, we are facing a tendency of the IT enterprises, and some of them as critical software, for example, but we have many other ones. They are establishing in the historic core of the city, and it's becoming a special place to work and to live. It's lively, vibrant, dynamic, modern, and it has a youthful atmosphere, also due to the students that live there. So the downtown is facing a strong recovery process, led not also the private initiative, and helped by the proximity to the main railway and train stations. So we have here in this area services, commerce, culture. We have the university nearby. We have green areas, a green park that has recently recovered, transports, leisure, tech, and tourism. Concerning our support structures to our what we call our strategy for the development and internationalization of our local and, of course, regional economy. We have the IPN. I will leave this to Paulo Santos. We have the iPark, our Coimbra Innovation Park, and our two business industrial parks, Eiras and Taveiro. This is the IPN. Let me just tell you that IPN is one of the top 10 of world's best incubations category in the ranking conducted by UBI Global. Okay, Paulo, congratulations once again. Then we have our iPark. It's our science and technology park. It works as a complement to other infrastructures for business innovation in the city, and it is for sure the ideal habitat for the installation of RTD business units with lots of plots available with technological and innovative bases and strong character of exportation. You have all the infrastructures and equipment to satisfy companies' needs. We have, first of all, land. You have offices, auditoriums, training rooms, and all kinds of facilities and amenities to work. The great goal is to create synergies among companies, research centers, and knowledge transfers from higher institutions. Students coming directly from the university to these enterprises. It plays a crucial role in the development, capacitation, and modernization of this ecosystem in the city and, of course, the region. It's important to say that nowadays it's in the second stage of expansion with lotting and building of many new infrastructures. These are, the photos are not very good, but I can tell you that we have two main business industry parks with a strategic location next to the railway, A1 and IP3, and playing a competitive advantage to investors and new businesses. So, I can see the title of, I don't know if you can see the title of my slide, but it refers to our strategy for boosting the investment and the business dynamics in Coimbra. Our key vectors are transferring highly qualified skilled workforce from the university and the higher education institutions directly to local enterprises. We have a continuous commitment on open innovation, on promotion of sustainability and knowledge dissemination. Also our entrepreneurial ecosystem with the cooperation among enterprises the higher education institutions, and of course, the research and technological development poles. Coimbra is also an innovative health cluster, which is internationally recognized. We want also to be a differentiating center in the areas of information technology, and it's important to say that we are classified as UNESCO heritage. I will not be too specific about this point. I will leave this to the questions and debate, and I can leave you more information in the end because it's too legal, but we have some specific support to economic activities. For example, Coimbra Invest, or other kinds of incentives as the reduction of the rate of VAT for the construction in the rehabilitation in historic center, the reduction also for the construction in properties in the areas called as urban rehabilitation areas, but I can explain you more specifically if you have interest in the end, okay? Coimbra Invest, which is one of the most important ones. I think it's important to tell you that the goals are the promotion of local development, the improvement of city companies, and of course, industrial ordering, the restructuring and diversification of sectors, and of course, job creation, first of all. We can give many kinds of support, but the main ones are the total or partial exemption of municipality charges, also special tax benefits in municipality taxes, the reduction in prices in lots and lands, for example, in our business parks or any land or lot belonging to the municipality for the implementation of oil projects. And we also give support in works involving all the infrastructures and accessibilities for the construction of business. It's also important to say that in the evaluation of any project, we have in mind also the degree of innovation in the project, in cause. Another important item we would like to show you, it's the co-work, the municipal co-work that we created in 2019, I think, that gave a new dynamic to the area, and that follows this tendency that I showed you before of the installation of IT enterprises in the very downtown. So we created a co-work space with a capacity for 30 people, exactly in the downtown, in the very, very downtown of the city. We refurbished an ancient college. I think this college is from the 13th or 14th century. It was an ancient university college, the arts college, and we give the conditions for the enterprises or the small enterprises or just the business ideas to be here in a shared workspace with maximization of resources for the operation, all the furniture needed, all the equipment, the services, meeting rooms, and all the amenities. We have a very informal and youthful atmosphere. We have, as I said, a total capacity for 30 users and very low prices, around 25 euros per person per month. It has a very central location, as you can see. This is one of the main squares at the downtown, and we are nearby here. We have restaurants, theaters, museums, historical monuments. And which are the main goals of this space? Of course, to foster the entrepreneurial spirit and create an atmosphere to boost the creativity, to promote business dynamics, to leverage co-workers' businesses, to support entrepreneurs in the pursuit of their ideas and its conversion into real businesses or creation of a company, and also self-employment, and to boost networking and synergies among the co-workers installed here. So this is our Coimbra, our vibrant Coimbra, We welcome you. Give you my contacts. We are the Investor Support Office. We are here to help you if you intend to or have interest in installing here in the city. Feel free to contact us by this email. We can help you with all the bureaucracy.
Magda.
Welcome to Coimbra. The future is here.
Thank you a lot for this presentation and for all the, and we can see that you have a lot of incentives and special programs, so feel free to give us your contact in the chat, or we will send it to the startups after the webinar if they have some questions for you. So yeah, thank you a lot, Magda. And I think, Sandrine, you can now introduce
Paolo. Thank you very much, Salome. Thank you, Magda. Very interesting, many incentives for our startups. So let me introduce the business incubator IPN. So business.
I hope I was not too long.
No, it's okay. Thank you.
Hello.
So Business France and Magda have talked about it. So I am very proud to welcome IPN Incubator because you belong to the top 5 business incubators in the world. So your incubator, Paolo, is 25 years old. You won the first place in the world award for the best science-based incubator, a main focus on health science, IT. So, bom dia, Paolo. You are the
Bonjour.
you are the executive director of the incubator and accelerator called TechBiz at IPN. You have supported more than 400 startups, and you, by the way, you have a very successful unicorns, in ICT sector. So welcome, and you can go ahead. Thank you very much, Paolo.
Okay. Hi, good afternoon. Thank you very much for the invitation. It's a pleasure for me to be here and have the chance to share with you some of the work we have done at IPN. I will try to be brief. I have a small video of 2 minutes or something like that, just to give you an initial overview of IPN and what we do, and then I will go into more specifics, a bit more details on some aspects that I think it might be interesting for you as entrepreneurs and that are considering the possibility of coming to Portugal and Coimbra. And after that, of course, I will be completely available for me and my team to assist you in any request you may have on how to enter in our market. Okay. Salome, could you please give me the control, or just to make?
It's already.
It's already. Okay. I will share the video. It's a short video, and then I will come back to you. Okay.
Okay. Thank you.
Bye.
The Pedro Nunes Institute, IPN, was created in 1991 by the University of Coimbra and today brings together more than 40 partners, including other science and higher education establishments, public organisations providing support to businesses, municipalities, business associations, and diverse companies. Its mission is to establish the connection between academia and the business community, to develop technology transfer and training activities, and the incubation and acceleration of businesses. IPN has several laboratories in different scientific fields to provide specialised services and conduct research jointly with companies, supporting them in creating new products, processes, or services. At the training level, hands-on training and training in the workplace are emphasised, actively involving trainers, technicians, and entrepreneurs. IPN promotes the creation of new technology-based companies, especially those that result from the research developed at the university or other centres of learning. New companies are supported in their first years through the Business Incubator, which provides all the support they need to develop their business. Through the TechBiz Business Accelerator infrastructure, IPN supports technology-based and innovative companies in a more advanced state of maturity that have already achieved success in the market and aspire to rapid growth and internationalization. As well as having its own well-equipped space and several shared spaces, the accelerator provides a set of diversified services in order to enhance the internationalization capacity of companies and contribute to increased technology intensity. IPN is an agent of change with the capacity to create, providing researchers and entrepreneurs, students, funders, and decision makers with an empowering environment for innovation through co-working in a place that's bustling with ideas and events, and which results in a visible presence both in Portugal and in the world. It's worth noting the collaboration with the European Space Agency, in which IPN encourages the use of space technology in terrestrial applications by supporting startups entering the ESA-BIC Portugal Incubation Centre. IPN already collaborates with an extensive network of national and international entities, but is always open to creating new partnerships. Join us.
Okay, it was good. The sound was good. Yes, good.
Yes, perfect.
Okay.
Thank you.
So with this 2.5 minutes video, I hope I've have the chance to show you an overview of our activities. Now I will change to a presentation in which I will go in a bit more detail. Okay, but I promise I will try to be short. Okay, here we go. Let's see. Okay, here we are. So IPN, Instituto Pedro Nunes, has his name in honor to an old professor of our university from the 6th century. Pedro Nunes was a great mathematician, Portuguese mathematician that transformed basic knowledge and research into innovation, into devices that contributed a lot to the discoveries, the Portuguese discoveries of the new worlds and the maritime expansion. So in the early 90s or in the late 80s, the University of Coimbra had this idea, group of visionaries at the University of Coimbra, of creating an institution that has the mission of being the bridge, being the interface institution between the academia, the university, the knowledge that is created at the university, and the economic fabrics. So the economics sector in Coimbra, the region, and in the country. Okay, so our mission is promote innovation and the link between the academia and the entrepreneurial world. Nowadays, we bring together more than 40 associates, so public institutions. The main one is the University of Coimbra, but we have also the Polytechnic Institute of Coimbra, the city of Coimbra, other cities in our region, and also some big companies like Vodafone Portugal, for instance, and even some of our most successful startups, companies that were born at our incubator, are now associates of our association. Okay, so as the video showed, we are not just an incubator. We are much more than an incubator, we are a very special incubator, since we have also our own research capabilities. We have 6 applied research labs, and we have our training facilities. We have a high specialized training department that provides training in both in technical areas, technological areas, and in entrepreneurial areas and entrepreneurship. And we have, of course, the incubator and the accelerator, which are probably the best known activities of our institution. But the success of the incubator relies very much on the support of the labs and the training center, of course. So it's a very holistic approach to the entrepreneurial activity. R&D activities, incubation and acceleration, high specialized training, and what we do with these three main pillars is to promote a lot of interactions, synergies, relationships with a lot of actors, as any incubator and technological park in the world does. So we are an ecosystem of entrepreneurs, investors, startups, students, public and private entities, technical staff, big companies, small companies, researchers. So all these people is in our ecosystem and interacting through our three main pillars of activity. Coming to the R&D labs, we have these 6 applied research labs. The first one, LAS, is a laboratory of automation and systems. So it's a lab that has to do with electronics, robotics, and stuff like that. They are very strong in medical devices, for instance. It's one of our main activities, is aging medical devices, related technologies. Also, we work a lot on collaborative robotics and stuff like that. LEDIMAT, the second one lab, it's a laboratory of wearing testing of materials. We work a lot with thin films, for instance, for metals. It's the biggest laboratory. We have 40 researchers here. LIS is the third one, is the laboratory of informatics and systems. So it's a laboratory of software. We work in all the trendy stuff like artificial intelligence, machine learning, cybersecurity, all these things. Then we have the lab of electronics and corrosion, electroanalysis and corrosion is LEC, it's chemistry lab, okay? Then Lab geotechnics labs. Can sound strange for you, but we do oil prospects from our Lab geotechnics labs. We have collaborations, for instance, with some oil companies in Brazil and in Africa also. And we have finally the Phyto Lab. It's the laboratory of phytopathology. So it's a lab with a strong links to the biology department in the University of Coimbra, and works a lot with the health of plants, with the olive trees, the kiwi plantations, and pine and forests and all these things. So what those 6 labs have in common is they are intended to work for and with companies. So those labs are applied research labs. They don't do basic research. The basic research is done at the university. Each one of these labs is strong, has a strong connection, a strong link to another lab at the university, a basic research lab. But here our focus is applied research, is doing a lot of projects in consortia with our incubated companies, with the companies at our accelerator, and with SMEs and big companies all over the country, all over our region, the country, and even internationally. All the labs have strong curricula in participation in regional, national, and international projects in the framework of H2020 and the former programs. Regarding the business incubator, this is our building, the second building. We moved to this building in 2007. We started in 1995 in another building. And we like to see ourselves like a one-stop shop for the entrepreneur. Okay, we have a physical incubation program and also a virtual incubation program. And through this program, we provide all these services, starting with the business modeling and planning. We do the economical and financial viability assessment. We help the entrepreneur to do the pitch deck, to do the writing and discussion of the business plan. And we do some more than usually an incubator does, which is we help them in the technical and technological assessment through the collaboration of our labs. Since we have our own labs, our own capabilities in terms of researching all the areas I mentioned before, we have this single capability of helping our companies to assess the viability, tech viability of their ideas, their projects, and if it is the case, to improve the quality of those ideas, the innovation, apply new technologies, and support them in the innovation process. Okay. Then we have all the administrative help, you know, the company incorporation, tax and accounting services, payroll processing, so all this stuff. The bureaucratic stuff, the access to knowledge, of course. We have strong links to researchers at our own university, but also in other universities and polytechnical institute, not only in Portugal, but also internationally. I will show you later on some of the networks in which we participate. Networking, the space and logistics, of course, we provide our companies with room for office, labs, laboratories, the meeting rooms, reception, mail, etc. We do a lot of networking and soft landing services, so we can provide services that help our companies to internationalize, to go abroad, to our partnerships with EBN, and we have partnerships with India, Brazil, Sri Lanka, United States, and many other countries. And on the other side, we also help foreign entrepreneurs, foreign startups or scale-ups that want to come to Coimbra and Portugal. We can help them to assess the viability or of addressing this market. Okay, we have a staff. My team, I have about 25 people, all of them with backgrounds in economics, management, accountancy, strategic planning, and all the business related areas. Okay, innovation. We work a lot on helping our companies in the access to funding, mainly through the intermediation with business angels, VCs, but also banks, and of course helping them to achieve some finance through grants, to regional, national, and international grants programs like H2020, or for instance the new EIC program. We have the training, of course, I have mentioned before, and we have also experts, internal experts in intellectual property, and we can give all the advice to our companies in tech transfer subjects, contracts, patents, filing, trademarks, all this stuff. Okay. Just to give you an overview of the evolution of the incubator, since we start counting in 1996, but the first company entered the incubator in December 1995. Through the years, this has been the evolution. As you can see, till 2006, our maximum capacity was around 20 companies. This is just physical incubation, okay? These are the number of companies incubated the 31st of December of each year, okay? Nowadays, we have a capacity for around 40 companies. We ended 2020 with 28 companies at the incubator, but they occupy 90%, 95% of the space. So it's regarding the distribution, IT and multimedia. So ICT is the counts for 50–60% of the companies but in many different topics within ICT. Then we have quality, electronics, health, design, tourism. So we are a very eclectical incubator. We are not specialized in a particular field, since we serve all the University of Coimbra, which is very eclectical as well. Regarding the evolution in terms of spin-offs, you may see that you can see that we had a good trend until 2010, the number of spin-offs coming from the academia was increasing. Nowadays, we are assisting to a certain decrease in the number of spin-offs, because we achieved a certain maturity, and now we have a lot of companies incubated with us that are created by former incubatees, so are spin-offs of the first companies that we incubated. So are you know, the kind of grandchilds of our incubator. Okay, but it's something interesting. We are achieving a certain maturity in our ecosystem. We are achieving our we recently achieved our first unicorn company, but we have also Centauro companies, and I will share you with this company. Critical Software was the one that was mentioned by Magda, was our first big success. Three students from PhD students from the departments of informatics engineering. They work with dependable technologies or critical technologies, so software that cannot fail, software that is used in critical applications like space sector or aeronautics, trains, stuff like that. So this company nowadays, Critical Software, has more than 9 spin-offs, employs around 1,000 people, has branches all over the world. It's a global company, and it's a very technological intense company. More than 12% of their annual turnover is invested in R&D. They have reached an agreement with BMW. They created a joint venture in Portugal with BMW called TechWorks, and they are developing software, critical software for BMW applications in the cars of the future. The other example I have here is Fidzai, the unicorn company, our first unicorn company. The previous one, Critical, is a Centauro company, so it's valuated in more than 100 millions. This one, Fidzai, has reached a valuation of 1.4 billion 2 months ago. It's a company that it's also a spin-off from the same department, from the Department of Informatics in the Faculty of Technologies of our university. Was created for two researchers at the university and one former student, which was ESA staff. So it was working for ESA, the European Space Agency, and is nowadays the CEO of the company. And it's a very impressive company. They are specialists in big data, high-scale distributed systems, and what they call the nanosecond technology. They have developed algorithms that can respond in nanoseconds, in 3 milliseconds is the delay of response of their software. And they have applied this software to the cyber fraud detection. So they are working in the fintech space. They cooperate with Visa, MasterCard, and 5 out of the 7 major banks in the world doing fraud detection in real time through their algorithms all over the world. When you go to McDonald's and you pay with your credit card, that transaction is being monitored by this company, by Fritzai. Okay. Also, when you buy in Adidas or Nike online shops, it occurs the same. Okay, it's just to. The company has now more than 500 high qualified employees. They raised now more than 200 million. This is outdated. 200 million on investment, and they have offices in Coimbra. The headquarters are still here in Coimbra, but they have offices in Lisbon, in Porto, and in San Mateo, in Silicon Valley, in Atlanta, also in London, Hong Kong, Adelaide, and many other cities in the world. Just to sum up, we have, as was said before, around 400 companies created. These 355 were created here at our incubator, and the 31, the other ones has been created in another incubator we run, YES, which is a rural incubator. It's 25 kilometers outside Coimbra, in a rural area. We have developed this rural incubator, technology-based incubator also, but with technologies for that live well in the rural areas, technologies related to tourism and also efficient energy sources and environmental and things like that. The survival rate is over 70%. The total survival rate, counting since the first one 25 years ago to the last one just a few months ago. And the aggregated turnover, direct aggregated turnover of all these companies that are alive is more than, in 2019 was more than 200 million euros. 2020 we are near to reach we were near to reach the 300 million euros, and 65% is the rate of export of these companies. 3,500 employees, direct employees, and we estimate about 10,000 indirect employees. So this is very, very impactful in our city. We are a small city with 140,000 inhabitants. So the impact of the incubator has been very notorious in Coimbra. Then we have a special program in our incubator, which is the ISA Big Portugal Incubation Center, which is the incubator of ESA, the European Space Agency. We are one of the 20 incubators that ESA or programs that ESA has all around Europe. We had a contract with ESA for the period 2015-2020, in which we signed the compromise of helping to create 30 companies based on space technologies with Earth applications. So our mission here is to help entrepreneurials on Earth to apply space technologies that were initially developed for space and sets of data from satellites in doing, new products and new services, innovative services on Earth. We reached the 30 companies, 16 of them in Coimbra. So this was something amazing, having 16 companies using space technologies to develop innovative business models in Coimbra. Those companies so far have created more than 100 jobs, and the sales reached 5 million euros last year. For the next 5 years or until 2024, we have much more ambitious goal is to create 60 companies. And now we are coordinating a network of 15 incubators all over the country, including the archipelagos of Madeira and Azores. And till now, we have created so far 12 companies, 7 out of that in Coimbra, which is very, very good for us. Within the ESABIC program, we were the first institution in Europe acting as a space solutions center of ESA, because we joined the ESABIC to the ambassador platform and the technology broker. So apart from helping startups in ESABIC, we also have a special program that gives some grants up to 300,000 euros per program to more mature companies that want to introduce space-related technologies or data in their business models, innovative business models. So here we map some possible SMEs in the country that can apply space technologies in their business models and help them to achieve some funding directly from ESA to develop these projects. Acting as a technology broker, we help ESA to commercialize some of their technologies. ESA has nowadays more than 400 patents, a portfolio of 400 patents that are available for European entrepreneurs to be creative and build business models around these technologies. And we are one of the institutions in Europe that is mapping the entrepreneurial ecosystem in order to see the opportunities of transferring this technology to the SMEs and startups, scale-ups, etc. Apart from that, we have the business accelerator. The business accelerator is for more mature companies, for instance, the graduates from the incubator. It's a much bigger facility. Here, our focus is not in babysitting the companies as we do at the incubator. Here, the idea is to support the companies to be more and more innovative and internationalize. Okay, it's our main focus. We have a specialized team that helps companies in these specific areas. We have more than 4,500 square meters, 25 companies, jobs, more than 800 jobs created actually in those companies. Actually, right now it's more than 1,000. Okay, and plenty of occupancy rates. The turnover of those companies was in 2020 more than 100 million euros, 78% of exports. So these are very internationalized companies, and the R&D expenses represents more than 20% of the turnover of these companies. So these companies are very high intense in terms of innovation and technology-based innovation. We are reaching the final. So just to summarize, we belong to all these organizations, national and international. So we have a lot of connections all over the country, the continent, and the world. And so we put this network at the service of our companies. And that's it.
Thank you.
The places we are in the world. Thank you very much.
Oh yeah, Paulo. Sorry, we need to go quicker now because we are a bit late, and I just had one question, Paulo. So you have talked about soft landing networks, but also with Portugal Ventures in the world. Could you just explain what is Portugal Ventures, please?
Yes, of course. The Portugal Ventures is the VC, the venture capital arm of our government. So it's a public venture capital company, okay? And they have some spots in Silicon Valley, in Berlin, in Asia also. So they usually organize some events and meetings in those countries, in those cities, to help their portfolio companies, the companies they have invested in, to reach new rounds of financing, you know, to Series B, Series C, because in Portugal we have this characteristic. We are fine in terms of seed money for the startups and Series A, okay? But when it comes to Series B, Series C, when it comes to 10 million, 20 million, 40 million, 100 million of investment, we need to go abroad, okay? We need to go to UK, United States, Germany are the main destinations.
Okay. So we have one question. Is the accelerator TechBiz open to foreign startups?
Yes, of course. Actually, right now we have two foreign scale-ups there. One from them is from Lebanon. It's a company that is developing a spectacular technology for identifying debris in the tracks, the landing tracks in the airports. And we have this company has been funded with Portuguese English fund, and they have founders that are from Lebanon and from Canada, and they came to us and they are working with us and with the municipality. For we have an aerodrome here, a small airport, and they are doing the pilot developments of their technology here in our small airport. And we have a company from also from the Netherlands, and of course we are open to any potential interested foreign company to come.
Well, great. Hopefully we have some from our region. So by the way, Paulo, just for information, you have Bordeaux Techno West and Estia Entreprendre, which are other business incubators from our region. They are both members of ESABIC also. So maybe we have the chance to work together.
Yeah, of course. Yeah, I beg your pardon because I not know them personally, because the ESABIC program is run by another person in IPN, my colleague Carlos Cerqueira. Probably they know him, but of course we are always open to collaboration.
Okay, thank you very much. Anyway, it was very interesting, and it's very good for us to see how far we can go, at least for us in Technopole Grand Poitiers. So many
yes,
thanks, Paulo.
We are very used to collaborate with foreign startups in assessing the viability of their technologies, their business models here in Portugal. So if any of your startups has a specific interest in our market, in our programs, we are very open, and we will be more than happy to set a small meeting to assess them. Also, we do a lot of work with South America, with Brazil, Argentina, Chile, and we have strong links in this part of the world. So if any of your companies have special interest in this part of the world, we can also assist them.
Yeah, thank you very much. So now the floor is yours, Salome and Marine, for Teslo, which is a startup that will explain us how it settled in Portugal and why Portugal.
It's incubated at IPN.
Exactly. Hi everyone. Yes, it's a perfect transition because we are very familiar with the IPN and we are one of the representative of the Portuguese space sector. So let me share my screen.
Great, Marine.
It's here. Can you see it?
Yes, it's perfect.
Okay. So I'm Marine Ujuroyo and I'm one of the co-founders and the chief strategy officer of Teslo. So I'm French and none of the co-founders is Portuguese, but we have indeed decided to create our company in Portugal. So we are an environmental tech firm and we provide geospatial intelligence for sustainability. So I'm going to present you the company in a nutshell, what we do, the team, the tech, and then the services and the markets, and then I'll zoom in on the reasons why we are in Portugal and the advantages that we have found along the way. So what we do is we help our client, public or private organizations, to leverage geospatial intelligence to make their activity more sustainable. Our mission is to accelerate the transition toward environmental sustainability, and the reason why we started this adventure in 2017 is out of the launch of a specific satellite program of the European Space Agency called Copernicus, and this program is specifically dedicated to Earth observation. So the satellites called Sentinels are offering public information with a very high, very broad spectrum of light that allows to extract a lot of information about plants, about forests, about vegetation, about soils. That's what we are focusing on. We think that environmental change has to be monitored at very large scale and continuously a long time. So we are augmenting this public information. So we are focusing on open data and we are augmenting them with AI. So we build algorithm. We have built our own platform. We deliver everything through it. So what we are selling at the end of the day is geospatial intelligence. So we deliver very large scale countryside maps in near real time. We have been funded by with 3 grants of the European Space Agency, and the first one was called the Business Incubation Center. And in this framework, we were incubated at IPN in Coimbra. We have also been selected by the European Commission for another generic grant for the most innovative startup. So maybe a few more details about our tech. So we use this public data, raw satellite imagery. So what you see on the left is a satellite imagery at 10-meter resolution. You can see clouds, so it's not ready for analysis. So the first thing we do is to clean it. We do all the atmospherical corrections and we create mosaic of images. We stitch the images together, so we have a crystal clear image ready for analysis. And we do that in an automated way at any scale. We then design an algorithm supposed to extract the information that we're interested in. For example, the tree species. So on the right, you can see a land map. So we apply a classification of the land. We classify everything according to what it is and the purpose of the client. For example, vegetation, urban areas, trees. And within the tree category, we can be as precise as identifying each tree species. So basically, the ingredients are the Earth observation, artificial intelligence, and expert knowledge. This expert knowledge is critical. It's environmental knowledge, and this is how we build all our models. And combining all these sciences and tech, we deliver spatial intelligence. Now, a few words about the team. So we are 4 co-founders and we now have 8 employees. So we are now 12 people. Rémi Charpentier is French as I am. He's the CEO and he has background in business consulting. He used to work in a large consulting firm for 10 years, where he developed AI applications in the telecom sector. Our chief science officer, Michael, is American. He still lives in the US. And his background is in environmental engineering and landscape planning. So he's basically able to translate all the IPCC scenario into some concrete recommendation for urban firms or for forest managers, for example. Daniel Wiesman, our Chief Technology Officer, is Swiss and Ecuadorian, and he's our specialist of cloud supercomputing and GIS. He designed all the AI models. And myself, I joined them as a Chief Strategy Officer, so to take care of the funding, actually all the partnerships and institutional components of the company. I was in charge of designing all the applications that got us the European grants. And I also look as Chief Strategy, I'm also in charge of making sure that we are following this sustainability impact, because our tech is neutral and could be applied to any type of monitoring. Remy, Daniel and I, we met in Lisbon, and actually Daniel did his PhD in Portugal and in Technical, and there is a program with MIT in the US. This is where he met Michael Flaxman, who used to be a teacher at MIT. So it's really a Portuguese story. Now, our services and markets. Transversally, what we are able to do with this tech, monitoring anything that grows in near real time at 10-meter resolution, allows us to optimize industrial operations, to protect the trees and the forest, because we are able to detect threats and monitor their health status. And we also enable our clients to make sure they are compliant with environmental regulation. Today, we have two main markets, forestry and infrastructure. So for the forestry sector, in these two markets, we are already selling. Forestry, our clients are mainly timber producers. So they have plantations distributed in very large areas, and they want to monitor them. But the problem is they don't have access. The access to the ground depends on two things: sending someone on the ground to measure trees, for example, or to see if yes or no there is a pest attack, or send a drone, send an helicopter. So what they need is a cost-efficient way to have a continuous information about how is their asset doing. Are my trees growing as planned? Am I being exposed to a fire risk? There was a fire last week. Has something burnt? Are my operations optimized? Or, for example, where exactly are the tree species? So our first client, it really all started with a Portuguese client, which is SELPA. That's a Portuguese association of pulp and paper producers. So as an association, it gathers several large companies that have plantations in all Portugal. And they didn't have an harmonized way to work together. So what we are doing for them, we have an exclusive contract of monitoring their plantations. So every week we send them an inventory saying, measuring the wood. So saying, for example, how much has grown, how much has been cut, how much has been deforestation is not an issue in Portugal, but that could be an issue, for example, in Mozambique with our client PORTUGAL. So they have a constant vision of how it's going. Another type of customers are investment funds that use the forest as an asset for carbon offsetting. So that's, of course, a very promising market, because the carbon credit per area are supposed to be multiplied by 2 to 4 by 2030. So for these clients, livelihood, for example, in Indonesia, we are again monitoring the plantations of mangrove, and first we do a suitability analysis. So when they want to invest in a new plantation, we make a health reporting status without sending anyone on the ground or remotely, and we are able to tell them if the trees are healthy, if they have been deforested recently, if there is a new urban area being developing near them that could be a threat. And then for existing plantations that are part of their portfolio, we make sure that the asset they are actually selling on the market is still alive. Our second market is infrastructure. So here we are applying the exact same technology, but for a different purpose. So we also map vegetation at country scale, but this time is to make sure that this vegetation is not posing a threat to very large grid infrastructure. Our main clients are electricity companies, so they have vast grids, and very often they stretch over forested areas. So they have a legal obligation to trim the trees, but of course without deforesting everything. So they need to be very cautious. They have to cut the trees to make sure that if they catch fire, the line is not going to accelerate the problem. They want to make sure that no tree is going to encroach and maybe fall on the line, but they are not allowed to cut too much. So what do? We monitor everything with free data again, and we send them a risk map flagging the areas where they have to send someone. Is it urgent? Can they wait a bit, etc. Because we're also able to measure tree height, tree species, so to forecast the overall growth of the vegetation around the line. We have signed 3 projects. IREG is the Portuguese electricity distributor, ESB is the Irish one, and TEPCO, the Japanese one. So beyond those 2 markets, we are exploring other vertical, same approach, how to apply our tech to other markets. And for now, we are focusing on insurance. Lloyds Lab is one of the most selective InsurTech program. It's based in the UK, and Teselo is part of this year's edition. That's the only Portuguese startup, and I think the first one ever that has been selected. So we are seeing how our tech can be useful for climatic insurance and parametric insurance. Now, last but not least, the advantages of being in Portugal. So a lot of them have been mentioned already, particularly by Business France. So, of course, the great human capital. For example, when we received these first grants from the European agency, it was a 50K. So 50K can be a lot or very little, depending on the country you are. So in Portugal, because the cost of life is affordable, because the salaries, unfortunately, but in this case, it allowed us to survive and to also have access to great talent, is very valuable. So people are highly qualified. We have engineers, AI developers. We find all the talent we need. People have an excellent level of English. And also, when we don't find what we want, Portugal is a very attractive destination. So it's actually very easy to convince someone to come work for you if you're based in Lisbon. Then a very dynamic ecosystem. Today, you've seen some great examples. So below, I've put the logos of all the Portuguese entities that have been critical in our development. So the first one would be, well, latest and first, our investors. So Tesla has raised the seed round starting in December. It's still ongoing. So we have closed 400K so far. And 100K come from Portugal Venture. This program InnovID has been launched on the last quarter of 2020 to boost the startup ecosystem of Portugal. And the second one is EDP Ventures. So EDP is the national energy producer. And because we participated to energy matchmaking program, launched by Beta E, the conversation began, and they decided to put 300,000 euros in Teselo. There is also, of course, the institutional ecosystem, such as the National Space Agency, Portugal Space, IPN that you know already, and Replant. So we are very proud to be part of the current most ambitious research consortium about forest fire and the integrated management of forest fire in Portugal, called Replant. So we are working with all the timber producers, with the research such as the Superior Institute of Agronomy. So now Tesla is really super well integrated in the ecosystem. And why is that? That's my third point, business development. So networking in a small country is actually very easy. We feel very lucky because we've been able to reach the really highest level of institutions, of public administration, of decision makers, basically, either in the private or the public sector. So we have been, we are working with the leading companies in Portugal, so the Navigator company, Fidelidad, etc. And it has been possible because we were good, of course, but also because it's a small country, so it's easier to make the difference. It's easier to access people. Now it comes with a little downside. Portugal is a limited market, so a key message here would be to keep in mind the Portuguese-speaking countries, as they would be, as Portugal gives an easier access to them because there are bonds, of course, and connections. So Portugal is a very good platform for those countries. We have been working. We have a client in Mozambique that was introduced by a Portuguese client. And we have other leads in Brazil that are definitely that were definitely made possible by our Portuguese connection. That's it. So this is a picture of Sentinel-2, the main satellite we are using. I'll be available for any question, and many thanks for your attention.
Obrigada, Marine. Thank you a lot for your presentation. It was very interesting technology. So now, if you have any question, feel free to ask directly or in the chat. Otherwise, if you don't have any question, maybe Vincent, you can conclude this webinar.
Yes, thank you. Thank you, Marine. It was a very efficient presentation. Thank you. Yes, I would like just in conclusion to inform you that we will probably come to Lisbon in November for the Web Summit. It was a great opportunity to meet you in person. So thank you very much for joining this webinar. We hope you enjoyed it. So obrigado, bye bye, au revoir, à bientôt.
Obrigado. Bye.
Bon match ce soir.
Bye.
You too.
Bye.